The neon lights of Austin's newest entertainment complex, Community Central, blazed against the Texas night sky on March 15, 2025. The massive facility combining a state-of-the-art movie theater, bowling alley, arcade, restaurant, and community meeting spaces represented a $150 million investment in the city's east side, a historically underserved area that had been overlooked by major developers for decades. 52-year-old Carmen Rodriguez adjusted her new uniform nervously as she prepared for her first shift as a server at the complex's restaurant, after working multiple part-time jobs to support her family. Since her husband's death 3 years earlier, this full-time position with benefits felt like a miracle. "Mom, you look great," said her 28-year-old son Marcus, who was loading boxes from a delivery truck outside the main entrance. Marcus wore a simple uniform shirt and jeans, his hair tucked under a baseball cap as he prepared for what appeared to be another long shift, delivering supplies to various businesses. "Mio, you shouldn't be here working during my big night," Carmen protested. "This opening is important for our family. You should be celebrating with me." Marcus smiled, his expression mixing pride and something that might have been amusement. "Mom, I wouldn't miss this for the world. Besides, someone has to make sure all the deliveries arrive on time for opening night." What Carmen didn't know was that her son Marcus Rodriguez wasn't just a delivery driver. He was Marcus Chen Rodriguez, the billionaire tech entrepreneur, who had secretly funded and developed Community Central as a way to give back to the neighborhood where he had grown up. Marcus had built his fortune through a series of successful tech startups, but he had done so under the name Marcus Chen, using his father's surname to distance himself from his humble roots in East Austin. Now worth over $2.8 billion, he had quietly returned to his childhood neighborhood to create something meaningful for the community that had shaped him, all while his mother believed he was still struggling to make ends meet. As a delivery driver, Carmen called out Jennifer Walsh, the restaurant manager. "Are you ready for the big night? We're expecting over 500 people for the opening celebration." Carmen nodded enthusiastically. "I've been preparing for weeks. I just hope I don't mess anything up." "You'll be perfect," Jennifer assured her. "The owners specifically requested that we hire from the local community, and you have more experience than anyone else we interviewed." Marcus overheard this conversation as he wheeled a dolly of supplies past the restaurant entrance. He had indeed insisted that all hiring prioritize local residents, knowing that his mother and their neighbors needed good jobs with living wages and benefits. As the evening began, Community Central filled with excited families, teenagers, and community leaders who couldn't believe such a world-class facility had been built in their neighborhood. The complex featured amenities that rivaled anything in Austin's wealthy West Side, but with prices deliberately set to be affordable for working families. Marcus called out David Kim, the complex's general manager, not recognizing him in his delivery uniform. "We need those sound system components in Theater 3 ASAP. Can you handle that?" "Absolutely," Marcus replied, maintaining his cover as he headed toward the theater with professional equipment worth more than most people's annual salaries. Throughout the evening, Marcus observed the opening night festivities from his unique position as an invisible worker. He watched families discover the arcade games, saw teenagers amazed by the luxury movie theater, and observed community leaders marveling at the meeting spaces that had been designed specifically for local organizations. But what moved him most was watching his mother work. Carmen moved through the restaurant with grace and efficiency, treating every customer like family and clearly taking pride in being part of something special. "Excuse me," a well-dressed woman called to Marcus as he delivered supplies to the bowling alley. "Do you know who built this place? It's incredible that someone invested so much money in this part of town." Marcus paused in his work, considering how to respond. "I heard it was someone who believes this community deserves the same quality amenities as anywhere else in the city." "Well, whoever it was is a genius. My kids have never seen anything like this. And the prices are so reasonable, it's like they actually want families to be able to afford coming here." As the night progressed, Marcus moved through the complex like a ghost, observing reactions, noting what worked well and what needed adjustment. all while maintaining his disguise as a humble delivery worker. "Mom," Marcus said during a brief break in Carmen's shift, "how does it feel working here?" Carmen's eyes lit up. "Mio, it's like a dream. The pay is twice what I was making at my other jobs. They provide health insurance. And look at this place. It's bringing so much joy to our neighborhood. Do you ever wonder who built it?" Carmen shrugged. "Some rich person, I suppose. But whoever it was, they must have a good heart to invest in a place like this instead of just building where the wealthy people live." Marcus felt a familiar conflict, pride in what he had accomplished mixed with guilt about keeping the truth from his mother. He had maintained his secret identity to protect her from the complications that came with having a billionaire son. But watching her joy tonight made him question whether he was protecting her or robbing her of the knowledge that her own child had created this gift for their community. Round midnight, as the opening night celebration wound down and the last customers headed home, Marcus helped with the final cleanup while his mother finished her shift. The evening had been an overwhelming success, with every venue at capacity and universally positive feedback from the community. "Marcus," Carmen said as they walked to their cars, "I'm so proud to be working here. This place is going to change everything for our neighborhood. I just wish your father could have seen it. I think he would have been proud of you, Mom, and proud of what this place represents." As Marcus drove home to his modest apartment, a deliberate choice to maintain his cover story, he reflected on the evening's success. Community Central was more than just a business venture. It was his way of honoring the community that had raised him and ensuring that other families like his had access to opportunities and experiences that money shouldn't be able to monopolize. But as he watched his mother's taillights disappear into the Austin night, Marcus realized that opening night had been just the beginning. Now came the real challenge, continuing to operate in secret while ensuring that Community Central lived up to its promise of serving the people who needed it most. What he didn't anticipate was how difficult it would become to maintain his dual identity, especially when the success of Community Central began attracting attention from people who were determined to discover the true identity of the mysterious benefactor who had transformed East Austin overnight. 2 months after the grand opening, Community Central had become the heart of East Austin's social life. The complex was booked solid every weekend. Local organizations had found a permanent home in the meeting spaces, and the restaurant where Carmen worked had earned rave reviews from food critics citywide. Marcus continued his routine of working as a delivery driver, using his position to monitor operations and make subtle improvements to the facility. His dual identity was becoming increasingly complex as the success of Community Central attracted media attention and speculation about the anonymous benefactor behind the project. "Marcus, honey," Carmen said as they shared lunch at the restaurant during her break, "did you see the article in the Austin American-Statesman? They're calling Community Central a miracle of community investment. They're trying to figure out who really built this place." Marcus looked up from his chicken and waffles, trying to appear casually interested. "What are they saying?" "Lots of theories. Some think it's a tech billionaire with Austin connections. Others think it might be a consortium of investors. But whoever it is has managed to stay completely anonymous." Carmen's voice carried a note of wonder. "Can you imagine having that kind of money and choosing to spend it here instead of on yourself? Maybe they understand that money is only meaningful when it's used to help others." Marcus suggested carefully. "That's exactly what I think," Carmen agreed. "And speaking of helping others, did you hear about the scholarship program they announced?" Marcus's attention sharpened. He had indeed established a scholarship program through Community Central, but he was curious about how the news was being received. "Tell me about it." "They're giving full college scholarships to 20 kids from the neighborhood every year, 4-year rides to any public university in Texas, plus living expenses. Maria Santos's daughter Isabella got one. She's going to Austin to study engineering." Marcus felt a warm satisfaction. Isabella Santos had been working part-time at the arcade to help support her family, while maintaining a 4.0 GPA. Her scholarship was exactly the kind of impact he had hoped to achieve. "That's wonderful news," Marcus said genuinely. "It is. But, Marcus, I worry about you sometimes. You're working so hard with these delivery jobs, and I make good money now. Maybe you could go back to school yourself, get a degree? Marcus felt the familiar pang of guilt about his deception. His mother was worried about his future while being completely unaware that he was worth billions. "I'm doing okay, Mom, really." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Sarah Chen, an investigative journalist from the Austin Business Journal, who had been researching Community Central's mysterious ownership. "Excuse me," Sarah said, approaching their table. "I'm Sarah Chen from the Business Journal. I'm doing a story about Community Central, and I'm hoping to speak with some long-term employees about their experiences." Carmen straightened up proudly. "I'd be happy to talk. I'm Carmen Rodriguez, and I've been working here since opening night." "Wonderful, and you are?" Sarah turned to Marcus with professional interest. "Marcus, I do deliveries for various businesses in the complex. Have either of you had any contact with the owners? Any insights into who might be behind this incredible investment in the community?" Carmen shook her head. "We just know that whoever they are, they're angels, good jobs, fair wages, benefits, and now scholarships for our kids. It's like they actually care about this neighborhood." Sarah made notes, then focused on Marcus. "As a delivery driver, you probably interact with management more than most. Any observations about who's really running things?" Marcus chose his words carefully. "The management team seems very committed to the community. All their decisions appear to be based on what's best for local families rather than just maximizing profits." "Interesting. And you've never seen anyone who might be the actual owner?" "I think the real owners might be the kind of people who prefer to let their actions speak louder than their presence," Marcus replied. After Sarah left, Carmen looked at her son with curiosity. "You sounded very thoughtful there, Mio. Like you've given this a lot of consideration." "I just appreciate what this place has done for our family," Marcus said truthfully. "It's changed your life, and it's changing the whole neighborhood." That afternoon, Marcus was making a delivery to the main office when he overheard a phone conversation that made him stop in his tracks. David Kim, the general manager, was speaking with someone about a corporate buyout offer. "I understand the offer is substantial," David was saying, "but I need to run it by the ownership group." "Yes, it's for $100 million for the entire complex. I know that's well above market value, but the current owners have been very clear about their commitment to community over profit." Marcus felt his blood pressure rise. A corporate buyout would likely mean higher prices, reduced community programming, and the loss of everything he had worked to create. "David," Marcus said after the call ended, "sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't help overhearing. Someone wants to buy Community Central." David looked surprised that a delivery driver was asking about business matters, but he had always found Marcus to be unusually insightful about operations. "Meridian Entertainment Group. They want to turn this into a premium entertainment destination. Higher prices, more upscale clientele, less focus on community programming. And the owners might sell." "Honestly, Marcus, I don't know. I've never actually met the real owners. All communication goes through intermediaries. But given everything they've invested in this community, I can't imagine they'd sell to someone who would change the fundamental mission." That evening, Marcus sat in his apartment, staring at the Meridian Entertainment Group offer that had been forwarded to his private email. $400 million was more than double what he had invested in Community Central, and it would represent a significant profit even for someone with his wealth. But as he looked out his window at the families walking home from another evening at Community Central, Marcus realized that some things couldn't be measured in dollars. He had built this place to honor his community and his mother's sacrifices. No amount of money was worth betraying that mission. The next morning, Marcus arrived early for his delivery shift and made his way to David Kim's office. "David, I wanted to follow up on our conversation yesterday about the buyout offer." David looked up from his computer. "Marcus, I appreciate your interest, but I'm not sure a delivery driver should be concerned about ownership decisions." Marcus smiled. "You'd be surprised how much delivery drivers care about the places they serve. But I was wondering what if there was a way to ensure that Community Central never gets sold to someone who would change its mission." "What do you mean?" "What if the ownership structure was changed to something that legally prevents corporate Buyouts like a community trust or nonprofit model. David stared at Marcus with new interest. That's actually a very sophisticated idea. Do you have experience with corporate restructuring? Marcus realized he had revealed more business knowledge than a delivery driver should possess. I read a lot about business development in my spare time. But the important thing is protecting what this place means to the community. You know, Marcus, you might be right. Let me make some calls and see if the ownership group would consider that kind of restructuring. As Marcus left David's office, he was already planning the legal changes that would protect Community Central forever. But he was also realizing that his secret identity was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. As his emotional investment in the community's future grew stronger, the question was no longer whether he could keep his secret, but whether keeping it was still the right thing to do. The crisis came on a busy Saturday evening in May, when Community Central was packed with families enjoying dinner and entertainment. Marcus was helping coordinate deliveries for a special community appreciation event, when everything changed in a matter of minutes. "Mom, you should sit down," 17-year-old Isabella Santos said urgently, approaching Carmen at the restaurant's hostess station. Isabella had become like a younger sister to Carmen since receiving her scholarship, often stopping by to share news about her college preparations. "What's wrong, Mija?" Carmen asked, immediately concerned by Isabella's serious expression. "There's something on the news about Community Central, about who really owns this place." Carmen felt her stomach drop. Over the past months, she had grown increasingly attached to her job and the community that had formed around the complex. Any bad news about ownership could threaten everything. "What kind of news?" Isabella pulled out her phone and showed Carmen. A breaking news alert from the Austin Business Journal. Breaking. Sources reveal Community Central's mysterious billionaire owner is Marcus Chen Rodriguez, heir to Chen Industries' fortune and founder of multiple tech startups. Carmen stared at the headline, confusion written across her face. Chen Rodriguez, but that's almost the same name as Mrs. Rodriguez. Isabella said gently, "I think there's something you need to know about Marcus." Before Carmen could process what Isabella was implying, Sarah Chen, the journalist who had interviewed them months earlier, appeared at the hostess station with a camera crew. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I'm hoping you can help us understand the connection between Marcus Chen Rodriguez, the billionaire owner of Community Central, and Marcus Rodriguez, the delivery driver who works here. We have reason to believe they might be the same person." Carmen felt the world spinning around her. "That's impossible. My son Marcus drives delivery trucks. He's not a billionaire." "Ma'am, we've been investigating the ownership structure of Community Central for months. All trails lead back to Marcus Chen Rodriguez, and our sources suggest he's been working here undercover since the opening." At that moment, Marcus appeared from the back office, having been alerted by David Kim that reporters were in the building. When he saw the camera crew surrounding his mother, he knew his carefully maintained secret was about to be exposed. "Mom," Marcus said quietly, approaching the group, "we need to talk." Carmen looked at her son really, looked at him, and for the first time, she saw past the delivery uniform to something she had been unconsciously ignoring. The expensive watch he tried to hide under his sleeve, the way managers deferred to his suggestions, the uncanny knowledge he had about business operations. "Marcus," Carmen whispered, "tell me this isn't true." Marcus glanced at the cameras, then at his mother's face, and made a decision that had been building for months. "Sarah, could you give us a few minutes alone? I'll give you a full interview afterward, but first I need to talk to my mother." Of course, Sarah agreed, recognizing the human drama unfolding before her. Marcus led Carmen to a quiet corner of the restaurant, away from customers and cameras. For a moment, they just looked at each other, a mother trying to reconcile the son she thought she knew with the stranger he was revealing himself to be. "It's true, isn't it?" Carmen said finally. "You're the one who built this place." "Yes." "Mom, I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner." "Sorry?" Carmen's voice rose with a mixture of anger and hurt. "Marcus, I've been worried about you for years, working multiple jobs, sending you money when I thought you were struggling, feeling guilty that I couldn't do more to help you succeed." Marcus felt tears starting to form. "I know, and I never wanted you to worry. But I needed you to be proud of who I am, not what I have. I needed to know that our relationship was real, not complicated by money. Our relationship, Carmen stared at him. Mio, I have been proud of you every single day since you were born. When you learned to read, when you graduated high school, when you got your first job, I didn't need you to be rich to be proud of you. But Mom, you've sacrificed so much, working multiple jobs, struggling to pay bills, never having the things you deserved. I wanted to fix that without making you feel like charity. Carmen sat down heavily in a nearby chair. So instead, you let me think my son was a failure while you were secretly a billionaire? Marcus knelt beside her chair. You never thought I was a failure, Mom. You've always believed in me, encouraged me, supported me. That's exactly why I didn't want money to change our relationship. And Community Central. This whole complex, I built it for this neighborhood. For families like ours who deserve the same opportunities as anyone else. And I built it for you, Mom, so you could have a job that recognized your worth and gave you the security you've earned. Carmen was quiet for a long moment, processing the magnitude of her son's deception and the love that had motivated it. How long have you been wealthy? About 8 years. I started a software company in college, sold it, started another one, and things just grew from there. 8 years. Carmen repeated. 8 years of letting me worry about money while you could have solved all our problems. With a phone call, Marcus reached for her hand. I could have solved the money problems, but I couldn't solve the important things. I couldn't make you proud of who I am as a person. I couldn't earn your respect. I couldn't prove that I was worthy of the love you've given me my whole life. Carmen looked around the restaurant that had become her workplace, at the community center that had brought joy to hundreds of families, at the complex that had transformed their neighborhood. Marcus, she said finally, do you think I'm proud of you because you built this place? I hoped you would be. I'm proud of you because you built this place for the right reasons. Because you remembered where you came from. Because you used your success to lift up others instead of just yourself. Carmen squeezed his hand. But mostly, I'm proud of you because you're the same kind, thoughtful boy you've always been. Whether you're delivering packages or donating millions of dollars. Marcus felt relief flooding through him. So you're not angry about the deception? Carmen smiled through her tears. Oh, I'm furious about the deception. We're going to have many long conversations about trust and honesty, but I'm not angry about who you've become. As they sat together in the restaurant that had brought them both so much joy, Marcus realized that his mother's love had never been conditional on his success or failure. He had been protecting something that had never been at risk. What happens? Now, Carmen asked. Now I stop hiding. I do that interview with Sarah. I take public responsibility for Community Central. And I figure out how to be your son openly instead of secretly. And the community? When they find out their neighborhood angel is Carmen Rodriguez's delivery driver's son. Marcus grinned. I think they're going to be pretty surprised. But hopefully, they'll understand that sometimes the best way to help a community is to become part of it, not to stand above it. As they prepared to face the cameras and the questions that would follow, both Carmen and Marcus understood that their relationship was about to change dramatically. But for the first time in years, it would be changing based on truth instead of carefully maintained fiction. 6 months after Marcus revealed his true identity, Community Central hosted its first annual Community Champions Celebration, an event that had become a symbol of how the complex had evolved. From a mysterious billionaire's pet project into a genuine community partnership, Carmen Rodriguez Chen stood at the podium, no longer wearing a server's uniform, but dressed as the newly appointed Community Outreach Director for the Chen Rodriguez Foundation. Her son had insisted she take his father's surname as well, honoring the man who had shaped both their values about hard work and community service. 2 years ago, Carmen began addressing the packed auditorium. Most of us had never heard of Community Central. A year ago, I was serving tables in the restaurant, grateful for a good job but never imagining I'd be standing here as a foundation director. The audience, filled with families, scholarship recipients, local business owners, and community leaders, listened with the attention that came from shared experience. But The most important thing I've learned is that Community Central was never really about the buildings or the money that built them. It was about proving that when someone believes in a community, that community can achieve incredible things. Marcus watched from the side of the stage, no longer hiding his identity but still preferring to let others take center stage. His revelation had initially caused controversy and suspicion, with some community members feeling deceived and others questioning his motives. But 6 months of transparent operations and increased community involvement had largely settled those concerns. This year, Carmen continued. Community Central hosted over 100 community events, provided meeting space for 45 local organizations, and awarded $2.8 million in scholarships to local students. But I want to talk about something more important than statistics. She gestured toward the audience. Isabella Santos, who received our first scholarship, just completed her freshman year at UT with a 3.9 GPA. She's studying engineering and plans to return to East Austin to help design affordable housing. David Martinez started a youth basketball league that now includes 120 kids from 6 neighborhoods. Maria Gonzalez used our small business incubator program to launch a catering company that now employs 12 people. Marcus felt the familiar warmth that came from seeing his investment generate real change in people's lives, but more than that, he was proud of how his mother had emerged as a community leader. In her own right, the point, Carmen said, is that Community Central didn't create these success stories. The talent, determination, and dreams were already here in our community. Community Central just provided a platform for people to pursue what they were already capable of achieving. After the ceremony, Marcus found himself in conversation with several community members who had initially been skeptical of his motives. "Marcus," said Father Rodriguez from St. Anthony's Church, "I'll admit I was suspicious when we learned you'd been working undercover. It felt like you were treating us like subjects in an experiment. I understand that reaction, Father, and honestly, I'm still learning how to balance wanting to help with respecting people's dignity and independence. But you know what convinced me you were sincere," Father Rodriguez continued. "When the community started pushing back on some of your foundation's ideas, you listened and changed course instead of insisting you knew better." Marcus nodded. "My mother taught me that the best way to help people is to listen to what they actually need, not what you think they need." Dr. Sarah Williams, the principal of the local elementary school, joined the conversation. "The scholarship program has been transformative, but I'm even more impressed by the changes in how you operate. Hiring local residents for management positions, sourcing from neighborhood businesses, involving community members in decision-making. That's what makes this sustainable. That's what makes it real," Marcus agreed. "I can provide resources, but the community has to drive the solutions." Later that evening, Marcus and Carmen sat in the restaurant where she had first worked, now enjoying dinner together as family rather than boss and employee. "Mio, can I ask you something?" Carmen said. "Anything? Do you regret keeping this secret for so long?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "I regret the deception and the worry it caused you, but I don't regret learning what it was like to work alongside the people I was trying to help. I needed to understand this community from the inside, not just write checks from the outside." "And what did you learn?" "I learned that people don't want to be rescued, they want to be empowered. I learned that the best communities are built by the people who live in them, not imposed by outsiders with good intentions. And I learned that my money is only valuable if it helps people achieve their own dreams, not if it makes them dependent on my generosity." Carmen smiled. "Your father would be proud of how you're using your success." "I hope so. But more than that, I hope I'm honoring what you both taught me about work, community, and treating people with respect." "What's next for the foundation?" Marcus pulled out his phone and showed her plans for the next project. "We're working with 5 other communities across Texas to replicate the Community Central model. But this time, we're starting with community input from day one. No more mysterious benefactors, just transparent partnerships with people who know what their neighborhoods need. And your cover as a delivery driver," Marcus laughed. "Retired permanently, though I still help with setup. For events, old habits die hard." As they finished dinner and prepared to leave, Marcus reflected on how much his life had changed since that opening night, when he'd hidden his identity behind a delivery uniform. He was no longer trying to prove his worth to his community or his mother. He was simply trying to be worthy of the trust they had placed in him. "Mom," Marcus said as they walked through the complex that had started their journey toward honest partnership, "thank you for teaching me that being successful isn't about what you achieve, but about how you use your achievements to help others succeed. And thank you, Mio, for proving that success doesn't have to change who you are at heart." Outside, Community Central buzzed with evening activities, families at the movies, teenagers in the arcade, adults in fitness classes, community groups planning their next projects. The complex had become exactly what Marcus had envisioned, not a monument to his wealth, but a platform for community dreams. As they parted ways in the parking lot, both Carmen and Marcus understood that their story was no longer about a secret billionaire and his unknowing mother. It had become something more meaningful, a testament to how authentic partnership between resources and community could create change that benefited everyone involved. The delivery driver disguise was gone, but Marcus had learned something more valuable than any business strategy. The best way to serve a community is to become part of it, not to hover above it. And sometimes, the most important delivery you can make is bringing your authentic self to the people who matter most.